book lovers, it is G-Swizz here, and I'm here today with my April TBR. We are officially a quarter of the way through the year. I should actually coordinate a quarterly TBR video. I didn't do that for the first quarter of the year because I wasn't too sure. However, I am pretty determined to try to coordinate a quarterly TBR for the quarter that we are entering into between April and June. However, today I'm just going to talk about the books that I do plan to read in the month of April. Some of these books I wanted to get to for some time, and some of these books are like fresh on my priority list. Also, I feel like I've had a mixture of contemporary and occasionally fantasy in the last few months. As much as I have been enjoying going through a lot of the contemporary novels that I do own or that I've started to acquire, I do also really need to focus on like my dark romance slash fantasy books, because I feel like I'm also accumulating those very quickly. However, I have not prioritized them and they actually need to be read. This year I've put a big emphasis on demolishing my TBR. I think it's because I've recently started using the tracking spreadsheet, and so it calculates my TBR in percentage, and I'm actually impressed with my progress because I started off this year with a 59% finished book collection, and now I've recently reached 63.5% completed. Considering that I almost have 1,000 books that I own, that's incredible. I'm happy that I'm making progress there, and unfortunately the progression number lowers if I do add books. So I've been good in terms of making sure that I'm not buying too many books. I'm more saving up for special edition collections anyway. This year I've really focused on completing a bunch of backlist titles, but with this TBR I feel like I also need to prioritize these. So I'm going to talk about those kind of books. So without further ado, I'll get into these and let you know what I plan to read this month. The first book I'm going to mention is not a book that I currently have on this TBR, and I've moved this from March to April. I have not yet read this book and everybody seems to be onto it. I've definitely missed out on the hype here, and that, my friends, is The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. I did include this on my previous TBR. I don't have my physical copy yet because I believe this is the Fairy Loot book for March, but they have delayed dispatch due to supplier issues, so that's going to come to me sometime in late April. This might be a later April read. I do technically also have the audiobook, so I can listen to it on audiobook at any time. I think in the month of March I really wanted to focus a lot of my energy on the War of Two Queens. I really wish that I went for some other heavy fantasies beside that one. You know, I enjoyed a lot of the contemporaries I read in March, the lighter reads that I read in March. However, I did miss out on the Atlas 6, and that was my bad. That was my mistake. I feel like the more I put this off, the more I'm anticipating from it, so I just cannot keep holding it off. I need to actually read it. And you know, this year I've read a lot of manga. Almost 50% of what I've read so far this year has been manga, and as much as I think that it's really important to race through my manga and like to demolish my manga TBR, I think that I'm just giving it a little bit of a rest. However, there's one manga series that I do want to start that I'm pretty fascinated in, and I'm curious about, and that, my friends, is Rosenblood. So this is a new paranormal vampire shoujo series. I've heard good things about this so far, and the cool thing about the series is that this is only just beginning. So I believe that only volume 1 is out right now. I mean, volume 1 is technically only out in my country, maybe volume 2 is out elsewhere, but I'm very much looking forward to diving into this series with the rest of the fandom at the moment, because it's a fairly newly released series that has been translated to English. And the next book I bring up on my TBR today is the only contemporary that I am definitely planning to read this month. I don't know whether I'm gonna like for sure read it, but at the moment I'm in the mood to read the books by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and the only backlist book that I haven't read from her before Evelyn Hugo is Forever Interrupted, and this one I have been avoiding. And the reason why I have been avoiding it is because I've noticed with Taylor Jenkins Reid's books, a lot of her books have to do with a marriage plotline. Evelyn Hugo and like before then, they usually have to do with marriage. Every single time I've read her books as a newlywed, they have destroyed me in some sort of way, and I think this one is going to be the hardest. So pretty much the premise, the protagonist meeting someone, falling in love with someone and eloping with them, and then 9 days later the person dies. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Okay, One True Loves, I cried over. Maybe in Another Life, I shed a few tears over. I'm currently reading After I Do as I'm filming this video, and I'm not okay. All of these newlywed dark romance plots, like, they have been getting to me. And like, yeah, I'm enjoying them because they're giving me a lot of insight and they're making me appreciate what I have in the newlywed stage of marriage at the moment. However, this one I think is going to hit the hardest, and this is why I've left this backlist title to last. I want to read it while I'm currently in the Taylor Jenkins Reid mood of reading, because I have been enjoying her backlist novels so much, and I don't know why they're not getting as much hype as like Evelyn Hugo and the books that have come after. But what I do know is that I have been enjoying jumping on the bandwagon, and I reckon that they'll get more hype as I talk about them, and I'm just really hoping that this book does not disappoint, and if anything, it leaves me more happy than broken. So with these two books, it's going to be either or maybe both this month. So I've wanted to get into the Dark Olympus series for some time, and I reckon that this might be the perfect time to get into this series because Wicked Beauty will be coming out at the beginning of June. This is an option, or I might continue on with the Wicked Villains series. So both these series are by Katie Robert. Both of these are some sort of like dark erotic retelling. I have been putting these off, not necessarily because I haven't been feeling the steam. Desperate Measures had me feeling some type of way. It was very interesting. I mean, I know Desperate Measures is not necessarily everybody's favorite book by Katie Robert, and a lot of people who do read Katie Robert says that her books do get better, so I'm very much interested and intrigued in the other reimaginings that she's written. But you know, I do enjoy these books. I think in these last few weeks, I've just really wanted to read a lot more thought-provoking reads. That's why, like Taylor Jenkins Reid, I've just been like devouring their novels. But you know, sometimes I want to digest something that's a little bit simple. So if I'm feeling like something simple, if I feel like this month I want to get into someone's romance life, then you know, what better way to do that than read a Katie Robert novel? I hear Dark Olympus is really good, whereas with the Wicked Villain saga, it's a little bit taboo. Very interesting choices here. We'll see if I get to one, the other, or both. And after I suffered the dreadful hangover after the War of Two Queens, I think I'm going to finally get back to reading Jennifer L. Armentrout by continuing on with the Lux series. Here I have Onyx, which is the second book in the Lux series, and over here I have Shadows, which is the prequel to the Lux series, and I believe this follows Damon's brother and his little romantic affair. I'm very much interested in reading his story because I just want to know a bit more backstory and context based on reading the first novel in the Lux series. I feel like there's a lot that wasn't really explained because Damon's a very mysterious character, and I want to get to know more about his family. I reckon that I'm going to get to know more about his family through this novella here, but I also very much do want to continue on with the series, and I've been putting it off for the last few months because it is a big book commitment. I think this year so far, I've just been reading books to get through that are a little bit quicker. However, I think as we are transitioning into the later parts of the year, it's time to do some long series binges, and I reckon that this series is going to really set me up for that. And I believe at the end of May, we get the final book in the Prison Healer series, which is The Blood Trader, so I at least want to reread The Prison Healer and then move on to The Gilded Cage. I have not yet read The Gilded Cage. I'm very much looking forward to, because I loved The Prison Healer the first time I read it. I'm very much looking forward to rereading it, knowing what I already know about the story. Still cannot get over the plot twist that happens at the end of The Prison Healer, and what I want to do this time is just really dissect it, really look into what Kiva is doing in this book, which leads up to the very end, and the decisions that they make and everything. I really just want to analyze their mannerisms and all that stuff. Looking forward to The Gilded Cage. I hear that things get better and a lot more heated in this part of the series. I honestly cannot wait for The Blood Trader. The Blood Trader is one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and I haven't even read The Gilded Cage yet. So fingers crossed that I do like The Gilded Cage, so that I will be really pumped for The Blood Trader, like even more pumped than I am right now. And the final book series that I've decided I need to challenge myself to read, finally. As soon as I start reading it and getting into it, it's going to be a weight off of my shoulders, but I finally need to do it. I've been putting it off because I've been scared of getting into a book hangover because of it, but you know what? I went through a really bad book hangover this month, and I've just been thinking to myself, you know what? Book hangovers are inevitable. They're gonna happen, especially with your favorite book series, and sometimes you need to turn to another series in order to help you through that. And you know what? I feel like this book series is going to be my new fantasy romance obsession. So I really want to read the Bargainer trilogy this month. I've heard great things, and I've mentioned this before, a lot of people compare this series to ACOTAR. And my Bookish Box special editions I've been keeping with my freight forwarding company for some time, because I'm just waiting for another package to come in so they can combine packages and then send send it my way just to save on postage. As I mentioned, I've been putting it off because book hangovers. I feel like I'm going to get a really bad one. But you know what? I reckon that one book hangover is probably really important in order to get me into more fantasy romance, especially the fantasy romances that I have on my shelf that I just have not persisted with, especially the independently published ones. I have a lot on my shelves and I've been collecting them, but I just actually need to apply myself and I need to read them. And the only way to do that is to start somewhere, and The Bargainer, I reckon, is a great place to start. I've been pretty much bragging on my channel about how I'm gonna read this eventually, but I need to make April the month where I finally give it a crack. So I guess that's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay till the end of the video, leave me the bunny head emoji because it's April and it's Easter season. So I reckon that the emoji is fitting. If you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers, and also I have social medias. I'm at gswizzlebooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also at Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle, and finally I'm at TikTok. I'm at gswizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it into double. Started out with half and I flipped it into double.